You were never meant to fit in. They lied to you. From the moment you were born, they whispered one sentence into your soul: conform or be alone. And the worst part? You believed it. But what if I told you that your deepest pain, the isolation, the rejection, the overwhelming feeling that you don't belong here, isn't a curse, but a sign, a map, a calling, a quiet signal that your soul was never meant to kneel to this world? That feeling you've tried to numb your entire life? It's your truth trying to surface. There's a moment, isn't there, when you're sitting in a crowded room and still feel like you're fading. You laugh, but it echoes hollow inside you. You speak, but no one really hears. You perform, but who are you performing for? From childhood, the signs were there. Maybe you were too quiet, too sensitive, too different. They told you to be more like the others, more normal. So you tried. You cut off pieces of yourself, smoothed out the rough edges, buried your fire. And for what? Acceptance. But that ache never left. That emptiness in your chest, the one you blamed on failure, bad luck, or even mental illness, was never the result of who you are. It was the cost of pretending to be something you're not. Let me tell you the truth no one dares say out loud. You were never broken. The world just never deserved your frequency. Picture this: a child sitting alone under the stars, asking why no one sees the world the way they do. The others are laughing, playing, unaware. But that child, you, feels everything. The beauty, the pain, the weight of things unsaid. Now fast forward. That child grows up, hides their depth, masks their intuition, becomes what the world rewards: silent, obedient, numb. But the soul never forgets. And eventually, the mask cracks. The truth is, this world is not designed for awakened beings. It's built to reward sleepwalkers, to keep you distracted with noise, to seduce you with conformity, to crush your rebellion before it ever begins. So when you feel out of place, that's your soul rejecting the programming. When you feel like no one understands, that's the universe reminding you, you came here to remember, not to fit in. And maybe you've felt it recently. That silent unraveling. That moment when everything familiar starts to feel wrong. Like the life you built was made of cardboard. Like your job, your friends, your beliefs, all feel like someone else's skin on your bones. That's not failure. That's awakening. But here's the part that hits hardest. Most people will never wake up. They'll numb the ache with pleasure, silence the truth with screens, mock what they fear, and label what they don't understand. And if you're not careful, you'll do the same. You'll go back to sleep. Because the truth is heavy. Because being awake is lonely. But maybe, just maybe, you didn't come here to be liked. Maybe you came here to be light. To burn through the illusions. To walk alone, so others would dare to follow. Maybe your loneliness is sacred. A cocoon. A rite of passage. What if the pain is not something to escape, but a passage to cross? What if you're not breaking down, but breaking through? And now that you've heard this, you can't unhear it. You'll feel it in every silence, in every fake smile, in every room where your soul whispers, "This isn't home." So if this hit you, if something in your chest just cracked open, don't scroll. Don't forget. Comment below, "I'm still here." Let me know if your soul feels this shift. If this felt like truth wrapped in shadows, then it was meant for you. They lied to you the moment you took your first breath. And the worst part, you believed it. This isn't just a story, it's your story. The one they never wanted you to remember. By the end of this video, you'll understand why you've always felt like something was deeply wrong. You came into this world wide-eyed and weightless, a soul tethered to a body, fragile but ancient. And from the very first moment, they began the process of stripping that memory from you. You were wrapped in cloth, given a name, a number, a role. But no one told you the truth, that you are not from here. that your soul carries echoes of worlds long erased from human history. They told you who to be, what to want, who to fear. They built a box around your mind before you could even speak. And you grew up inside that prison, calling it life. Have you ever wondered why you feel like you're watching the world from behind glass? Like you're playing a part in a movie you didn't audition for? You're not broken. You're waking up. And it's painful, because waking up means realizing that everything, your school, your media, your culture, was built not to evolve you, but to contain you. And somewhere, deep inside, your soul started screaming. That silent scream, that aching, unexplainable pull for something more, that was the truth trying to break through. Let me tell you a secret they will never print in textbooks. Your suffering was engineered. From the moment you arrived, they disconnected you from nature, from ritual, from the divine cycles. They replaced the sacred with the synthetic. They replaced communion with consumption. You weren't born to be free, you were born to be controlled. And the worst part? You thought it was your fault. You blamed your anxiety on yourself, your depression, your rage. But what if I told you that those were never disorders, but symptoms of a soul suffocating in a world designed to kill it? Scene shift. Picture yourself as a child. Remember that moment, the one no one saw, where something in you broke. Maybe it was the death of a dream, the betrayal of a parent, the loneliness you buried so deep you forgot it had a name. That was the moment they won. But the story isn't over. Because there's a part of you they could never reach. A piece of memory encoded in your very cells. A spark that has waited lifetimes for this very moment, to wake you the F*** up, asterisk. Mid-script twist. Do you ever have dreams that feel more real than life? Do you hear voices in silence? See shadows move when no one's there? That's not imagination. That's memory. Ancestral memory. Dimensional bleed-through. You are not just human. You are a traveler, and this world is not your origin. It's your mission. But missions come with danger. And now, they know you're waking up. The Matrix doesn't tolerate glitches. And if you're watching this, it means you're already on their radar. The algorithms, the energy fields, the synchronicities pulling you to this very video, none of it is random. You were called here. And not everyone will answer the call. But you did. Closing lines. And that's why they're scared. Because one awakened soul can burn down centuries of lies. And you're not alone anymore. If this stirred something in you, if it cracked open a part of your memory you thought was lost, then comment, "I'm waking up." Because this is only the beginning. The moment you were marked. You didn't choose this life. It was chosen for you, the moment they marked you. They won't talk about this in temples or churches. They'll never admit it in schools or history books. But if you look close enough, you can feel it in your bones. Something marked you long before you understood what life even was. Not a physical mark. A spiritual signature. A fracture in your energy that called attention to you, to the watchers, to the system, to the forces that operate in the shadows of our world. It might have been a trauma, a near-death experience, a recurring nightmare. Or maybe, something smaller, a whisper in your ear when you were a child, a shadow that never left your room, a name you dreamt but never heard in waking life. That was the moment the veil thinned. And you saw something. Most people forget it. They block it out. But you couldn't. That's how they knew. You were different. Different doesn't mean special. Not here. Here, it means dangerous. To the system. To the structure. To the lie. So they marked you. Not with a scar. But with a life path rigged to break you. Think about it. Why have you always felt like your life is heavier than others? Why do you attract chaos? Why does peace feel like a stranger? Because they needed to keep you distracted. Wounded. Doubting. Because an awakened soul who remembers why they came becomes unstoppable. Emotional build. You were conditioned to shrink. To disown your power. You were taught that your pain was weakness. that your intuition was paranoia, that your visions were delusion. But none of that was ever true. You were never broken. You were hunted. Because they knew if you ever remembered who you truly are, the entire illusion would begin to crack. That's why they placed the narcissist in your path. That's why you were betrayed by the one you trusted most. That's why the world seems to conspire to exhaust you. It's not random. It's by design. The design of an ancient war, spiritual, invisible, and ongoing. You are a battlefield. And your memories, they are the prize. Twist. But here's what they didn't see coming. You started to remember anyway. In the quiet. In the madness. In the pain. Pieces of your past lives started leaking through. Symbols began to haunt you. You were drawn to ancient texts, forgotten rituals, cryptic knowledge. Your soul was reconstructing a blueprint they tried to burn. They marked you to silence you. But they forgot one thing. Pain is the greatest trigger for awakening. And you've been in pain long enough. Scene shift. Imagine looking at your life like a film reel. Every hardship, every loss, every haunting. What if it wasn't chaos, but a map? A coded sequence to break you open? What if the pain was the point? To purify, to strip you of illusion, to bring you to the edge, so you would jump, not into death, but into remembrance. And maybe you're not fully awake yet. That's okay, because even the act of listening to this right now is your soul confirming, yes, I remember. Closing lines. They marked you to stop you. But that mark, it became your key. You're not who they said you were. You're the one who sees through it all. If this opens something inside you, if you feel the pull to go deeper into the shadows, comment, I remember the mark. Because next, we're going into the reason they fear your memory the most. When the system tried to break you. If you've ever felt like this world was built to destroy you, it's because it was. From the moment you were born, they began weaving a prison around your mind. Not with chains, but with lies. Subtle, constant, repetitive. They disguised it as love, as safety, as just the way things are. But underneath, it was programming. The system doesn't care who you are. It only fears what you could become. So they numbed you with screens. They sedated your soul with distractions. They fed you fear through your education, your relationships, even your food. Every structure around you was designed to mold you into something small, predictable, obedient. But some of you didn't fit. Some of you questioned too early, felt too deeply, refused to play the game, even when you didn't know why. So the system tried to crush that part of you. You lost jobs for not fitting in. You were the black sheep in your family. You were told to calm down, to be realistic, to stop dreaming. But the truth is, they weren't trying to help you. They were trying to break you. Because when someone starts waking up, they become dangerous. They stop following. They start remembering. You were never meant to succeed in their world. Because this world was never meant to free you. Emotional storytelling. Think back. That relationship that drained the life from you wasn't random. That betrayal that shattered your trust, it wasn't a mistake. That burnout that nearly killed your spirit, it wasn't a coincidence. It was the system applying pressure. Hoping you'd snap. Hoping you'd give in. And maybe you almost did. Maybe you reached the edge, sobbing into your pillow, questioning your existence, asking the universe if you were cursed. You weren't. You were being forged. You were in the middle of a spiritual war, and no one told you. They don't want you to see that depression isn't always chemical. Sometimes it's spiritual suffocation. That anxiety isn't always irrational. Sometimes it's your intuition screaming through the static. That fatigue you carry isn't laziness. It's the weight of living in a world that's out of alignment with your soul. Dramatic turn. And here's the part they fear the most. You didn't break. Maybe you cracked. Maybe you fell. Maybe you screamed. But you're still here. Listening. Breathing. questioning, feeling, and that alone means they failed. The system couldn't break you. And now, you're starting to see through the illusion. You're seeing the patterns, the cycles, the manipulation. You're seeing how pain became your compass, how trauma unlocked your sight, how every scar was a symbol, a sigil of survival. You're starting to remember that you didn't come here to conform. You came here to collapse the system from within. Scene visualization. Picture a soul waking up inside a simulation, surrounded by hollow faces, repeating scripts, plastic smiles. They begin to scream, but no one hears. Until one day, they stop screaming, and they start seeing. The code, the architecture, the truth. That's you. Right now. You weren't broken. You were trapped. And every moment of suffering was the system pressing harder, not because you're weak, but because you're the one it couldn't fully control. Call to action. If you felt this in your chest, if you've ever asked, "Why is everything so hard for me?" I want you to comment, "They tried to break me, but I'm still here." Because the next chapter is where everything begins to unravel. The ancient memory buried inside you. You've felt it, haven't you? That unexplainable pull in your chest when you hear ancient chants. The strange familiarity of ruins you've never visited. The eerie sense that you've done this before, that you've been here, in this exact moment, but in another lifetime. It's not your imagination. It's your soul remembering. There is an ancient memory buried deep inside you, one that was never meant to surface. A memory older than language, older than time. A sacred knowing that has been encrypted into your bones across lifetimes, sealed behind layers of trauma, distraction, and manipulation. You weren't born blank. You were born veiled. And every time you felt out of place in this world, every time you questioned why you never fit in, that was the memory trying to break through. It doesn't speak in words. It speaks in symbols, in dreams that wake you gasping, in flashes during meditation, in moments of stillness when you suddenly feel like you're not alone, like someone ancient is watching through your own eyes. And the system, it fears that memory, because when you remember who you truly are, when you reconnect with the origin before origin, the one who walks with ancestors, speaks to the unseen, and holds the codes of forgotten civilizations, you become uncontrollable. That's why they buried it. With pills, with screens, with school systems that teach you what to think, but never how to remember. But no matter how deep they pushed it down, that memory is alive. And lately, it's been stirring. You've been having strange dreams, haven't you? Seeing signs, numbers, synchronicities that make your spine tingle. Hearing whispers in the wind. Feeling drawn to books you don't remember picking up. You can't explain it, but something inside you is guiding you, urging you to dig. Because you didn't come here to conform. You came here to awaken a legacy. One carved into the pyramids. One sung by the stars. One hidden in your DNA. You are not just a person. You are a vessel of memory. A carrier of divine codes. A sacred being who chose to forget, only so you could remember now. And when you do, when that memory finally resurfaces in full, your world will never be the same. But be warned. This remembering is not peaceful. It comes with grief, because you'll see everything you lost. It comes with rage, because you'll realize how much was stolen. It comes with isolation, because no one around you is ready to hear what you now feel in your bones. You'll try to speak it, but words will fail. You'll feel it burning under your skin, like a scream that never stops. You'll look around and wonder why no one else sees it, this beautiful, terrifying truth that's been calling you since birth. But don't run from it. Sit in it. Breathe through it. Because that fire is sacred. And it is awakening the soul you came here to become. If this stirred something ancient in you, something you can't explain but deeply feel, type in the comments. I remember. Say it loud. Say it real. Let the others like you find you in the darkness. Because the moment you remember, You become the key to someone else's awakening. The moment the veil begins to crack. It starts quietly, like a whisper you can't quite catch. A feeling in your gut that something isn't real. A strange fog lifts for just a second, and suddenly, everything feels wrong. That's the moment the veil begins to crack. And once it starts, it can't be undone. You'll be sitting in your room, maybe scrolling, maybe still. And out of nowhere, you feel watched. Not by someone around you, but by something within you. Something ancient. Something that has always known the truth. You blink. The air shifts. Reality warps, just enough for you to notice. The lie no longer holds. You begin to see through the roles, the rules, the masks. You notice how people speak, but say nothing. You notice how smiles don't reach eyes. You notice how your own reflection feels foreign, like you've been pretending to be someone this entire time. And the questions start to creep in. What if my life isn't mine? What if my choices were programmed? What if my beliefs were installed before I had a chance to choose? And deeper still, what is this world really hiding? The veil doesn't rip open in one violent motion. It frays, tears, crumbles, piece by piece, until you begin to realize you've been walking through a scripted dream. A reality built to distract you. A system designed to keep you obedient, small, asleep. But your soul, it's waking up. You start to see the patterns, the loops, the way every escape route leads you right back into a cage, a prettier cage, a shinier one, but a cage nonetheless. And that's when fear hits. Because now, you can't go back. You can't unsee the mask on the priest. You can't unfeel the emptiness of achievement. You can't unknow the truth that has been clawing at your soul since you were a child. This is not the life you came here for. Emotional virata. Turn. At first, you think you're going crazy. You isolate yourself. You question everything. You doubt your sanity, because nobody around you is cracking yet. They're still lost in the illusion. Still performing, still blind, still asleep. But you're waking up in a room no one else can see. And here's the catch. Once the veil cracks, the darkness rushes in. The voices of doubt grow louder. Your dreams get stranger. You begin to remember lives you never lived, or maybe, lives you've lived 1,000 times before. You'll want to close your eyes again. But the crack won't let you. Because now you've seen the glitch. You've felt the ancient code beneath this reality. And the deeper you go, the more you realize. This world is a trap for the sleeping, but a doorway for the awakened. If the veil has started to crack for you, if you've begun to see through the illusion, then don't stay silent. Comment, I see it now. Let the others find you. Let this channel be your signal in the darkness. You are not alone in this awakening. Why everything in your life feels like it's falling apart. You're not being punished. You're being reconstructed. Everything that once felt stable, your relationships, your identity, your purpose, is starting to crack, collapse, and dissolve in front of you. And you're left wondering, why is everything falling apart at the same time? But here's the truth no one tells you. When the soul begins to wake up, the false life it built around itself has to die. Not because you're broken, but because you're finally becoming whole. The job you once thought you loved now feels meaningless. The people you used to laugh with now feel like strangers. The dreams you chased for years now feel like cages. It's not depression. It's not bad luck. It's the sacred breakdown that precedes your rebirth. Because when your soul starts remembering who it is, anything that doesn't align with your truth begins to burn. Yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it's painful. But this isn't destruction for the sake of cruelty. It's the universe removing everything that was keeping you asleep. You asked for truth. You asked for purpose. You asked to wake up. And now it's happening. Piece by piece, your false identities are being stripped away. The roles you played. The masks you wore. The dreams that were never yours to begin with. All being torn down. not to hurt you, to show you who you really are beneath it all. A spiritual collapse isn't a curse. It's an initiation. The fire that destroys the illusion is the same fire that forges the soul. But no one around you seems to understand. They tell you you're changing. They tell you you're distant. They tell you you're lost. But they don't realize you're finally being found. Here's the secret almost no one talks about. The systems of this world, the education, the religion, the culture, are designed to break your soul slowly over decades, so you never notice. But when you begin to remember your divine origin, your ancestral wisdom, your real self, that system turns on you. It starts to shake your foundations. It tells you, stay small, stay silent, stay asleep. But you don't listen anymore. Because now you know. The breakdown is the sign you're finally aligning. So if you're watching your world collapse, if you're losing what once defined you, don't run. Stand in the ashes. Look into the fire. And say out loud, I remember who I am. Write that in the comments if you feel it. Let the others know they're not alone. This is not the end. This is the beginning. Because the truth is, everything had to fall apart, so your soul could rise. The unseen collapse behind your eyes. You felt it, didn't you? The quiet collapse. The invisible breaking. The sense that something deep within you was cracking, even when everything outside seemed fine. You laughed when you were supposed to. You smiled for the photos. You told them you were okay. But something inside whispered the opposite. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't anxiety. It was something older, deeper, like a memory you couldn't access but couldn't ignore either. You began questioning everything, your job, your friends, your purpose. What used to excite you now feels fake. What once felt like home now feels like a prison. And no one around you seems to notice you're slipping. But you know, you feel it in your bones. Something is wrong. Something is missing. Something is calling. This is where it begins. The unraveling. The remembering. The death of the life that was never really yours. The lie you were forced to live. You were never given a choice. From the moment you were born, they handed you a script, who to be, what to want, how to act. They told you to be polite, to be normal, to be successful. They taught you to fit in, not to feel, to memorize answers, not ask questions. And you obeyed, like all of us did. But something in you resisted. Even as a child, you sensed the fakeness, the masks, the emptiness beneath the surface of it all. They tried to tame your wildness, your knowing, your power. They told you your dreams were unrealistic, your feelings were too much, your questions were dangerous, and so you shrank. You hid your soul inside a body that learned to smile on cue and suffer in silence. But the soul doesn't forget. And one day, it begins to wake up. The day your soul started screaming. It wasn't loud. At first, it was just a whisper. A discomfort. A question you couldn't shake. Is this really it? You tried to ignore it. Distract yourself. Work harder. Love harder. Numb deeper. But the voice got louder. And louder. Until it became unbearable. You couldn't fake it anymore. You couldn't force yourself to be okay. The soul inside you, the one you buried, began to scream. Not because you were broken, but because you were finally waking up. This is the part no one tells you. Spiritual awakening doesn't start with light. It starts with fire. It burns. It destroys. It reveals every lie you ever believed about who you are. You lose everything that isn't real. You cry for no reason. You start remembering things that never happened in this life but still hurt. It's messy. It's raw. It's sacred. And it's exactly what your soul came here for. The ancient memory buried inside you. There's a reason all of this feels familiar. Because it is. This pain you're feeling, it's not just yours. It's ancestral. It's ancient. It's encoded in your DNA. You were born into a world that's been spiritually asleep for centuries. A world that forgot its magic, forgot its connection, forgot its truth. But you didn't forget. Not fully. Beneath the noise, beneath the trauma, beneath the programming, there's a memory. A sacred memory. You've lived before. You've seen the truth before. You've held the codes of light in lifetimes where the world was dark. And now, it's time to remember again. That's why it hurts. That's why you feel lost. Because your soul is trying to break through the illusion and pull you back to what's real. You're not crazy. You're not alone. You're awakening. And your ancestors, the ones who walked this path before, are watching, guiding, whispering. They knew this moment would come. And so did you. The silent war on your soul. Everything in this world has been designed to keep you asleep. The screens, the systems, the lies dressed up as truth. They don't want you to feel, to question, to wake up. Because when you remember who you are, you become powerful. So they distract you with fear, with fame, with false desires. They keep you busy, tired, addicted, disconnected. But there comes a day, usually in silence, when the veil starts to tear. When you begin to see through the illusion. It doesn't happen all at once. It comes in waves, glitches, strange synchronicities, painful truths. And suddenly, you realize, you've been living in a prison you couldn't see. Your soul signed up for this. To wake up in a sleeping world. To break the cycle. To bring the hidden truth to light. And yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it's lonely. But it's also the most sacred mission you've ever had. Because once you wake up, you wake others up too. Why everything in your life feels like it's falling apart. You're not being punished. You're being reconstructed. Everything that once felt stable, your relationships, your identity, your purpose, is starting to crack, collapse, and dissolve in front of you. And you're left wondering, why is everything falling apart at the same time? But here's the truth no one tells you. When the soul begins to wake up, the false life it built around itself has to die. Not because you're broken, but because you're finally becoming whole. The job you once thought you loved now feels meaningless. The people you used to laugh with now feel like strangers. The dreams you chased for years now feel like cages. It's not depression. It's not bad luck. It's the sacred breakdown that precedes your rebirth. Because when your soul starts remembering who it is, anything that doesn't align with your truth begins to burn. Yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it's painful. But this isn't destruction for the sake of cruelty. It's the universe removing everything that was keeping you asleep. You asked for truth. You asked for purpose. You asked to wake up. And now it's happening. Piece by piece, your false identities are being stripped away. The roles you played, the masks you wore, the dreams that were never yours to begin with, all being torn down. Not to hurt you, to show you who you really are beneath it all. A spiritual collapse isn't a curse. It's an initiation. The fire that destroys the illusion is the same fire that forges the soul. But no one around you seems to understand. They tell you you're changing. They tell you you're distant. They tell you you're lost. But they don't realize. You're finally being found. Here's the secret almost no one talks about. The systems of this world, the education, the religion, the culture, are designed to break your soul slowly over decades, so you never notice. But when you begin to remember your divine origin, your ancestral wisdom, your real self, that system turns on you. It starts to shake your foundations. It tells you, stay small, stay silent, stay asleep. But you don't listen anymore. Because now you know. The breakdown is the sign you're finally aligning. So if you're watching your world collapse, if you're losing what once defined you, don't run. Stand in the ashes. Look into the fire. And say out loud, I remember who I am. Write that in the comments if you feel it. Let the others know they're not alone. This is not the end, this is the beginning. Because the truth is, everything had to fall apart, so your soul could rise. So now you know. This shift you feel isn't just personal, it's ancestral. Your soul is remembering what this world tried to make you forget. You didn't come here to watch the world fall apart. You came to remember who you are as it rises again. This is the ancestral calling. And it's only just begun. If this awakens something in you, if you feel that strange, ancient pull inside your chest, then don't leave without subscribing to this channel. Because what we uncover here isn't for the masses, it's for the remembering ones. Like the video if you felt the call. Subscribe if your soul whispered, "This is truth." And prepare yourself, because this is only the beginning. The secrets you've been seeking, they're already inside you. Let the ancestral calling help you unlock them.